Okay, when?
Okay. So, what's actually the difference between a lap and a pedal steel?
Okay, well, yeah, there's always a lot of confusion about this, and basically what this is the instrument that started everything off, which is a really simple, basically strings stretched across a plank, with nothing else, apart from the bar to change the notes. And what they did was they found that they were using lots of different tunings on lots of different necks, and so someone had the idea that instead of having multiple necks on the instrument, you could actually rig up something that would change the notes so that you could get different tunings by pressing down combinations of pedals. So that's what became the pedal steel guitar. But so this is the older version of it, which is, there's obviously smaller versions that go on your lap and people would call it a lap steel. This technically, because it's on legs, would be called a console steel. But to be honest, I just call it a steel because it was the first one, so as far as I'm concerned, it's steel and pedal steel.
Yeah. And what's the main difference in sound between the two?
I think that the lap steel has got a more kind of harsh, more kind of aggressive kind of sound. With pedal steel, it tends to be a lot more kind of pretty and kind of, you're kind of playing lots of pretty chords and sliding them into each other.
I've seen acoustic ones. Are they?
Yeah. Yes. Well, but most of the acoustic ones tend to be more lap steels. There's not really that much in the way of acoustic pedals, pedal steels. But although I have seen the acoustic ones with a sort of a hand lever that bends notes in, which is a similar sort of idea. Yeah. But I kind of the thing about this is it's just got that real old kind of country sound, which is just a little bit sort of simple, and it's got that kind of edge to it. I've got loads of favourite players. Probably my biggest hero is a guy called Speedy West, who recorded. He was a big session player who recorded just about everybody in the late 40s, early 50s, and he was really one of the pioneers. And he used to do some really crazy stuff. Apart from kind of just regular playing, he'd do all this kind of stuff with kind of like bar slam. Much better than I could ever do it. But if you listen to any of his stuff, there's some really crazy stuff going on. He recorded a lot of instrumental albums with a guy called Jimmy Bryant, and that's almost bordering. It's kind of a mixture between country and jazz, really, and they're really kind of out there with what they're playing. But I mean, there's loads of people. There's a guy that played with Hank Williams, whose name was Don Helms,
right?
And also a guy called Jerry Bird, who played on some of the Hank Williams recordings. I love lots of pedal steel players like. Buddy Emmons and Buddy Charlton, who played with Ernest Tubb. There were some great guys in the 70s, people like Sneaky Pete, who played with the Burrito Brothers. A guy called Lloyd Green, who played on lots of the early recordings. I mean, just basically, pretty much anything with steel guitar on it. I mean, there's great records, and I've got no idea who's on them. Those old Western swing records that are amazing, and a lot of them, nobody knows who's on them. I'd hate to pick out a single favourite, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, what's your favourite little trick to do on the instrument?
I don't know really. It's just kind of whatever I can fit into the song that I'm doing. I still love kind of trying to do the kind of bar slam thing. And doing some of the kind of weirder stuff. But there's all kinds of nice. I like the kind of some of the real corny stuff. Like you can do a little kind of tremolo thing that you hear with the kind of which is actually a technique that's used quite a lot on dobros. You hear it on bluegrass things, but there's something about it that's got that real kind of crying kind of sound that really pulls at the heartstrings.
So did it originate in Hawaii?
It did really, yeah. I mean, it's as far as everyone can work out, it started off in Hawaii with basically people with acoustic guitars, and they'd use. I think initially they actually would use like the edge of a knife. They'd use a knife blade and slide it up and down the notes, and much later, it developed into using a steel bar. I mean, the reason why it's called a steel guitar is because the thing that you play it with is called a steel. I mean, the original ones were kind of like this one, which is literally, kind of a stainless steel bar.
Okay, yeah.
The one I've actually started using is this one, which is made by a steel player called Basil Enrique, who's a fantastic Hawaiian player, and he actually makes these, and it's coated in some kind of plasticky resin with a metal bit in the middle, and I find it just slips over the strings. There's a lot less noise as it slips over. I mean, you can probably hear actually if I use this one, just sliding it up. You hear that noise.
Difference in sound.
And whereas with this one, there's so it's, to be honest, since I've got this bar, this is all I'll use.
Yeah.
But it gets its name. It's still called a steel bar, even though there's no steel in it. And, and that's why it's called a steel guitar. A lot of people think, when you see those acoustic dobros that are made of sort of highly polished metal, and they assume that's a steel guitar because it appears to be a guitar made out of steel.
Yeah, it's not.
No, it's a guitar played with a steel bar.
And I've never seen these that often in a standard guitar shop. Where do you go to get them?
Well, there are a couple of the guitar shops up in Denmark Street that sell them now. But I mean, most of mine I've picked up either. I've picked up a couple on eBay over the years. But there's a couple of kind of online forums which are, because like steel players are the most kind of geeky people in the world.
No.
And so there are these kind of steel guitar forums where we'll get together and discuss the finer points of it. And quite often people, anything that they're deciding to sell, they'll put it up for sale on there.
Okay.
And it's great because there's a really good, I think most of the steel players in London all kind of know each other, and there's quite a good, real kind of camaraderie between everyone. And so, if you buy something from another steel player, then you're probably not going to get ripped off. And, so I tend to keep my eye out on the forum because there's always stuff coming up as people are selling stuff and buying new stuff. And, especially in America, people still find things in kind of junk shops and stuff, and and then they decide they don't really need it, so they put a thing up on the forums and if anyone else is interested. So, but they are around, but they're not as common. But one thing you will find with these is that this is this particular one's a Fender from about 1951, and you can probably pick up something like this for around about 1,500 quid.
Right.
And if you compare what you'd pay for, for example, a Fender Telecaster or a, from 1951 or an early 50s Strat, there's no, you're talking about probably 10 times that price.
Yeah. So
really, even vintage steel guitars by Fender and Gibson are absolute bargains compared to the rest of the vintage guitar world.
Yeah. Is this your main one?
It's the main one. It's certainly the main one I use with Sarah Vista. And it's actually my favourite sounding one. It's the one I use for pretty much all the recording I do. But it's kind of horses for courses. There's some bands where, if I'm only playing a couple of songs or maybe 3 or 4 songs a night, I might take a little Lapsteel because this does take up quite a lot of room on stage. And if I'm doing a gig where I'm playing kind of steel all night, I've actually got one of these that's got 4 nicks on it.
Right.
Which is a pretty major commitment, both in terms of carrying it around and the amount of real estate that you're taking up on the stage. But there are times when if I can, that's what I'll use as well. Yeah. So it really just depends. But certainly this one is my favourite sounding one, and the one that I'll pretty much take to a recording session for sure.
Okay. And what's your favourite recording ever on a pedal steel? Big question.
I think it would have to be the albums that Speedy West recorded with Jimmy Bryant. They're just, if you're not familiar with them, they're worth tracking down. I think they're definitely available on CD now and they're probably download. But check out that, and no matter what kind of music you're into, it's just so mind blowing, and it's just so, the playing is just so amazing, and also it's played with kind of so much humour. I mean, as well as kind of what they're playing, they kind of put little kind of effects and noises in, and it's just so fun to listen to. You just can't listen to it without a big smile on your face, really. So that's definitely where I'd recommend to start listening to, although I wouldn't recommend trying any of it at home.
Could you quickly show each effects you've got?
Yeah, I mean, actually, mostly I tend to use the effects on regular guitar, but I mean, although it's one of these multi-effect units, I really only use three main things. One's a basic clean sound with a little bit of reverb. I use tremolo, which just kind of varies the volume, and that can be quite nice atmospheric. And then the other one is just a kind of rockabilly style slapback echo. If I'm doing a more kind of straight ahead country gig, I actually wouldn't probably use one of these. I've got a foot pedal, which is basically just a kind of volume, and up and down goes volume, side to side goes tone, and you can get the kind of that kind of effect, but you actually operate that with your foot pedal, so it's almost like a very primitive version of a wah-wah pedal. But I've not actually got that with me today. But that's a fun little thing to play as well.
That's good.
Alright,
It's good.
Yeah.